Shulam, blessings. I want to tell you two incredible stories about the power of sincere prayer. So, this Wednesday night, I came to teach my first class at the seminary I work at, and I was so excited. I worked really all summer to prepare a dynamite first class. I got to impress the girls the first class so they don't switch out. And I get there at exactly 7:30 when my class is supposed to begin. I know I have 12 girls signed up, and no one's there. And I can't tell you this is the first time that no one's shown up to my classes, but this is kind of surprising because they haven't even gotten to my class yet. So, I mean, how bad could I have been? So I walk out and I double check that I'm in the right classroom and there's no other classrooms available. And I peek my other rabbi friend. I see his class is filled with students, like 45 girls. So I'm like, I think I know what happened here. Word got out, the other rabbi is cooler, more interesting, and they wanted to check it out, so they just ditched. And I'm a little sad, feeling bad for myself. I told the madricha, the girl in charge, about what's happening, and she doesn't really know. She says, weird, strange, we'll look into the matter. I go back to my room, and now I'm stapling for my next class, feeling sad, thinking, should I call my wife and complain? And instead I said, you know what, I'm going to listen to a podcast. And I happen to almost always have the Daily Amuna podcast listening with my free time. Rabbi David Ashir does an incredible job. I put it on, and he happens to be talking about the following concept. There was a family, and their daughter was getting older and older, already in the late 20s, and they were getting so bitter and sad that their daughter had not yet found her soulmate. And they went to a Rav, and the Rav said, maybe instead of complaining so much, thank God for all the blessings in your life. Thank God that, your daughter is so wonderful. And that's what they started doing. Instead of complaining, looking at the bright side. And they even said, thank you, Hashem. And as an aside, she ended up getting engaged very soon after this. But the point is that they changed their attitude. And so I said, okay, Hashem, I got it, God. I got the message. Thank you. I understand this is a challenging situation. It must have happened for a reason. And a minute later, I felt fine. I was stapling my next class, and everything was cool. Right then, a woman, the madricha, comes storming into the room and says, Rav Kalman, Rav Keith, you got to go. Why? All the girls are waiting for you. What? Yeah. Didn't you realize there's a new classroom? They're all waiting in a new classroom. So I ran in, and we ended up having a wonderful class. But to me, it was so clear. God heard my prayer, my hidden prayer of thanks. When you thank God, even for the challenging things, not only does life get better, but a lot of times you see the blessings start flowing through your life. Okay, I wanted to share one more incredible story that I heard from Rebbuh Barak Hullman in his Chassidic Story Project. You should totally check it out on YouTube, and it really moved me. So the story is like this, of course, a true one. So there was a Chabad man, and it's a form of Chassidus. And in general, Chabad doesn't get along so well with Satmar. They got a little bit of beef, even though they're both Chassidim, but they don't see eye to eye. This man is driving back to his wife in Crown Heights, and it was Erev Shabbos, and he lost, track of time, and he sees, according to Waze, that he's not going to make it back on time, and then an accident happens on the road, and he really is stuck. So he looks at Waze, and the nearest town is something called Kiryat Yoel, and it's a Chassidic town full of Satmar Chassidim, a sect of Chassidut, of ultra-Orthodox Jews. And he says, listen, I got no choice. He calls his wife and says, listen, I can't violate Shabbos, God forbid. So I'm going to take my chances. It's a little bit of a crazy thing. He doesn't have any clothing, doesn't have anywhere to eat. And he says, I don't have a choice. He parks his car and he gets out. He goes to shul and he davens. But before he davens, he looks for his Chabad sitter. And incredibly, in this Satmar shul, there's a Chabad style sitter. And he takes it as a sign from Hashem that everything's going to work out. and he davens, and he finishes davening. And he's waiting till the end of shul, and before the last guy walks out, comes over to him and says, "Hey, do you have a place to eat for your meal?" He says, "Actually, no." And he tells him the story. He got stuck there. He says, "Come, eat by me. You can even sleep by me." And they end up having an amazing Suda full of song and Torah and l'chaim and delicious food. And they're sharing Torah the whole time. And they're just having a great time. And after 3 meals of this beautiful Shabbos together, the Chabad man comes up to the Satmar fellow and says, "You know what? I got to tell you a crazy story. A few years back, I took it upon myself to teach a Tanya Shir. And I actually went here to Kiryat Yoel. I figured, it was the mission of Babat's Rebbe to spread Chassidus wherever it could go. And what would be better than to spread it here? And I actually opened up a class. And a few people actually were coming to my class. And it was incredible. We were learning Chabad in Kiryat Yoel. And then one night, a few of the Chassidim saw what was going on. And they got so angry. "What are you doing trying to convert our people in our town? This is our town." And one man actually got up there and started swinging a bench at me, and he knocked me down. And I was like, "What's going on? I'm a man of peace. I just came to learn Torah." And Hasidim picked me up and said, "Listen, it's not safe for you to be here. We're sorry, but you really should head home." And that's what I did. I headed home. And he looks at the man and says, "But after this Shabbos, you were so nice to me. I think things have really changed around here. You guys, something's turned a corner, and maybe I could start teaching that class again." And the man looks at him, and there's tears in his eyes. And he says, "Can you please tell that story again?" And so he says, "Okay." He tells the whole story again. And the man says, and you can probably guess, you know who that man was? It was me. I was the guy who knocked you down with that bench. Here's the crazy thing. Ever since that day, I felt terrible. How could I knock down another Jew? And I started crying to Hashem 3 times a day, my prayer. "Please, God, send me back that man so that I could do tshuva, so that I can say sorry and say, 'Please forgive me.' And here you are. Do you forgive me?" And they hugged, and of course they forgave each other. And just an amazing story about the power of change, the power of prayer, and the power of recognizing that every situation is a challenge, thanking Hashem for the challenges, and He'll send the blessing after we thank Him. So I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you continue to listen to stories here on this WhatsApp group. Hope you subscribe, and hope you forward to other people that can use a pick-me-up. It certainly picks me up just to share these stories of Hashem's, of God's love for us. Have a great day. Can't wait to continue to share more stories in Torah.